Hi, my name is Francesco Cafaro.
And I'm Erin Brady.
In this video, we will present the key points of our CSCW 2021 paper, A Pluribus Unum, using conceptual metaphor theory to explore and support mixed ability workplaces.
This work was done with 3 of our students, Sowmya Chandra, Ulka Patil, and Abhijeet Saxena, all from the School of Informatics and Computing here at Indiana University in Indianapolis. In this presentation, we're going to talk about how we observed mixed ability collaboration among neurodiverse and neurotypical employees at a library in Italy, adapted conceptual metaphor theory, CMT, to identify the cognitive processes that they used in making sense of the work that they were doing and communicating about it, and how we think we could use this approach in the future to inform the design of technologies and interfaces for mixed ability work. This work deals with neurodiversity in the workplace, which is people coming to the workplace with a variety of developmental, cognitive, and learning abilities. We use 2 terms in particular, neurodiverse and neurotypical, to describe people who are in the workplace. Neurodiverse people are people with things like autism, ADHD, or mental illness, and neurotypical or allistic people are those without those types of diagnoses. People with disabilities can be discriminated against and devalued in the workplace. This is most obvious in mixed ability workplaces where neurodiverse and neurotypical employees are working together, because often the neurotypical employees are either in higher positions than the neurodiverse employees hierarchically, or they are kind of treated as if their experience of the work is the standard one which everyone should conform to. For this project in particular, we worked with a mixed ability library in Italy. At this library, they performed digitization of old and rare texts and manuscripts. And the team that was involved included a number of neurodiverse people, as well as a project manager who is neurotypical. Neurodiverse employees often experience social accessibility barriers in their workplaces because of misconceptions that people make about the way that they think and how they may be devalued in the workplace. So we wanted to prioritize in doing this work that we recognized and valued different cognitive approaches that neurodiverse workers might take to their work, and think about what types of approaches we could use to make sense of those differences and look for ways to bring their experiences together without forcing either neurotypical or neurodiverse employees to think about things in a different way that wasn't comfortable for them.
When we were reflecting on these issues, we started thinking that conceptual metaphor theory could have offered an interesting approach to explore and support mixed ability workplaces. Conceptual metaphor theory was originally introduced in cognitive linguistics. What makes this theory interesting for us is that it allows to dig into fundamental mental patterns that we acquire because of our bodily interaction with the world. Well, through time, these basic mental patterns, these embodied schemata, evolve metaphorically and help structuring our thinking in general. So, for example, balance is a schema that a baby acquires when she crawls and then tries to stand up and then falls down and then tries to stand up again and then falls down, up to the point in which she's able to keep an erect posture. And then, after some time, when we grow up, we are able to apply this idea of balance to understand other abstract domains like social justice or architecture. Well, conceptual metaphor theory is being used for the design of interactive systems, in particular in the context of tangible and embodied interactions. We included 2 notable examples in this slide. On the left, the Sound Maker, which is an interactive installation that allowed users to play with elements of music like tempo, thanks to the way in which they were moving within an interaction space. And on the right, we included some more recent work by Tien and Hall, in which the researcher used contextual inquiry and then coded a transcript using embodied schemata, and then look at this embodied schemata as the ingredients to design an interface for an home entertainment system. Although conceptual metaphor theory has been used for designing intuitive embodied interactions, our focus was on work processes in mixability workplaces. And for this reason, we had to rethink the data collection process, the coding, and the analysis.
In order to do this work effectively, we invested a lot of our early efforts into developing trust and relationships with all of the employees at the library. We developed this relationship over 6 months to understand the structure and hierarchy of the workplace, met remotely over Zoom with library leadership, staff, neurodiverse employees, and some of their nonprofit partners to establish our relationships, shared a video introduction with the neurodiverse employees in advance explaining what we would be doing, since we weren't sure if they would be familiar with the types of activity a research team might take in their workplace, and then conducted primary data collection for a week at the library in fall of 2019.
Regarding the coding, we decided to code by ADA units rather than keywords like in and out to better capture the context in which participants' remarks were made. To preserve the rigor of the coding, we developed a 4-steps process in which individual researchers coded the transcripts by ADA unit and then met together to collaboratively identify disagreement. At this point, 2 additional researchers who were not involved in the initial 2 stages met with the entire team to discuss and resolve disagreement and to refine the dictionary of embodied schemata. At last, the researchers went back to the transcript to do a final pass of coding using the updated dictionary. For the analysis of the coded data, we focus on commonalities and divergences in the schematic reasoning. We look at 3 research questions. Research question 1 was whether neurodiverse workers and their neurotypical team leader use different schemata or overlapping schemata to describe their work. And then research question 2, what are the schemata that workers rely the most upon? And research question 3, is there any correlation across different schemata? In the remaining of the presentation, we will focus on the implication for research question 1. During our work at the partner library, we noticed that people frequently use cycle to describe their work, and so we could consider including a data visualization based on cycle plots in the scanner data processing interface. On the other hand, the divergent schemata that we identified can make differences visible across communities of workers. In our case, we noticed that people at the library use more or less differently, and so we could think of redesigning the scanner interface in a more tangible way by using, for example, a coffee mug with paper clips inside that can be used to visualize the more or less schema.
Similarly, there are ways we can draw implications from this work to inform the study of other mixed ability settings. In particular, our use of CMT allowed us to identify ability-based hierarchies in the ways that our participants talked about their work, and specifically how neurodiverse and neurotypical employees identified different blockages and conceptualized their roles in the project in different ways. We can repurpose this type of analysis to seek out other instances like this in mixed ability settings and try to find ways to make those spaces more equal for all participants across ability. To summarize, we collected data from a mixed ability workplace at a library in Italy and analyzed it with an adapted form of conceptual metaphor theory. This approach could be valuable to inform the design of technologies and interfaces for mixed ability work.